So I'm a bit of a fan of strategy games. I've played the Total War games, Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Battle for Middle-earth, the second one. But there's one strategy game that I feel like has been severely overlooked by pretty much everybody. I mean, I didn't know anybody who's ever even heard of this game, so that basically means everybody.
I got plenty of friends. The gang's all here. Oh!
I have no friends. And that game is Bladestorm: The 100 Years' War. This game came out back in 2000 and something, but was remastered a few years ago for the PlayStation 4, and they added an additional mode called the Nightmare mode, which lets you basically do the same stuff except for you're battling monsters instead of regular humans. But I haven't actually played this in an incredibly long time, not since it originally released for the 360, so I wanted to go back and take a second look and see if this game really was actually severely underrated, or if maybe it just was not nearly as good as I thought it was. So here we go. The first thing you have to do is create your character, which I have to say the character creation here is some of the best I've seen from a Koei Tecmo game.
I have not seen your face hitherto. You are one of those who would seek to become a mercenary.
Usually with games made by this company, you get like a very select amount of face choices, but you can pretty much create any character you want from any ethnicity. The only downside I have to say to the character creation is there's no beards. What the hell is with games I've been playing lately that just don't have any beards? All these games have like gorgeous flowing hair, but they can't do a beard? Is there some technical reason for this? Game devs, if you're watching this, give me a decent answer, because I want my goddamn beard. I may not be able to have a good one in real life, but in video games, I should at least have something. Now, once you're done creating your character, you get thrust into the essence of the game, which is basically you're a mercenary during the 100 Years' War between the English and the French, and you just gotta go make a lot of money and get famous. And that's pretty much your only goal. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter whether the English or the French are winning, and as far as I can tell, there's no real way to like actually pick a side or have one of them be the de facto winner, which is a little bit disappointing. When I was a kid, I tried really hard to get the English to win, and yeah, it just doesn't make a difference. It does not matter at all. Especially since if you actually want to progress in the game, you have to play both sides in order to get every single piece of gossip, every single possible cutscene, unlock all the characters, progress for the game, which actually brings up my first negative point I have to say about this game, which is the fame meter is stupid as fuck. What you assume by this meter is once this meter gets full, you get to the next fame star, and you get to continue on getting better stuff and progressing through the game. But no! Once you fill up this meter, you actually are just stuck there if you have not actually done all of the things that you're supposed to do at this level, which is insane. And I don't just mean like getting all the cutscenes and whatever, I mean even the stupid gossip between who cares characters in this game.
Recently, I went to hawk my wares in the Brittany region. I shall not do that again in a hurry.
You have to listen to every single one, and you only get one new one after every battle you do. And there's like 200, which just kind of begs the question is, why? What's even the point? I don't fucking know, but it's stupid. Along those lines, something I did not remember is how incredibly horrible the voice acting is in this game. It is ungodly bad.
Marie, did you just order the mercenaries to seize the town alone and without aid? From birth, I have been prepared to endure the hatred of the people.
I don't know what the hell happened, but all the voice actors are trying to do these British and French accents, but clearly do not have British or French accents in real life, so they just sound completely horrible, especially the British ones, which just almost sound like they're making fun of British people.
We are to undertake a campaign against some French forces in RTS. Lady Philippa will take command of our armies. Who of ye will join us this day?
Oh, yes, it is me, the real British man. Sometimes it's so bad that it kind of feels like they don't even speak English. Like they just went up to the Japanese voice actors and were like, hey, you speak English, right? And they're like, yep, I sure do. Give me that paycheck.
You have grown strong. Now see to it that people do not say that strong is all you wear.
It's just like, no, please. Please stop talking. I do not want to listen to you anymore. Aside from that though, the gameplay itself I think is pretty solid. Basically what you do, you have a specific battalion that you control. You just stampede throughout the game, obliterating everybody. You also have 3 main abilities, which depending on what type of unit you're using, can be incredibly powerful and useful, and incredibly pointless and suck. What ability you use, as long as it kills them, doesn't really matter. It basically just leads to the fact of some of these units almost feel pointless. Like like, for example, there's spears and there's lancers, and they're basically the same thing. I don't know if, like, maybe the lancers are supposed to do more damage or something, but if that's the case, then what's even the point of the spear guys? Why did they exist? Because they're just a crappier unit who sucks? Now, there is actually supposed to be kind of like a rock, paper, scissors sort of mechanic between all the units, which is supposed to emphasize you trying to play as different units for different situations. But ultimately, the effectiveness and resistances that these units have to each other is so minimal that it doesn't really matter. For example, the spears are supposed to be specifically effective against horses, but the majority of the time they barely end up killing any of the horses that you have in your unit, and you can just continue to plow through them. So it ultimately just leads you to picking whatever is the clear best unit, which is obviously the horses, because they move significantly faster than anybody else, and their charge ability just decimates literally everything in their path. I think if the spear unit actually was incredibly effective, for example, if you just happen to hit a spear unit, it's just a one-hit kill for whoever touches that. If they happen to do that, then I think this game would feel a lot more balanced, and I would actually be motivated to pick something else based on the situation itself. But, you know, that's not how the game works. Now, to be fair, playing as the sword dudes is, in fact, incredibly enjoyable. It's awesome having your units just clash up against another one and then watching them just slice and dice through the enemy. But because the map is just so big and spread out, you spend the majority of your time trying to get to the next base and not as much time fighting. Basically, how the map works is it's this one giant zone. There's all these different bases, and you have to capture whatever specific one is important for the mission you're doing. And also, sometimes you also have to defend a base, which is usually incredibly easy, and I barely ever just even pay attention to that base. But because it's so spread out, and because all it is just capturing bases, it feels very repetitive. I think if they made the maps more specific, it would feel a lot more enjoyable and a lot more interesting. You know, you can introduce better choke points, you can introduce, you know, more surprise units, ambushes, all those kind of things that exist in the Kessen games, but does not exist in any way in this game. They did actually try to solve this problem with the whole nightmare mode that they added with the remaster version, but since the map is still the exact same, it still is really just incredibly boring, because you're basically just going to bases and capturing them, and even when they do an ambush, it's like, ah, fuck it, I don't give a shit. I'll just run right by, who cares? You can't stop me. Plus, the AI are really stupid in this game. Like, for example, the spear units will just, like, put down their spears, but they'll be facing the wrong way. So, like, they just don't do anything at all. You can just charge up through them, and they're like, ah, we have made a grave error.
No, you jest, surely.
One thing that I thought was kind of funny is that they try really hard to make pretty much all the noblemen seem like really awesome, great people. The prince is always like, I must save my people, and the suffering of the people is so bad for the people.
Kindness, although a worthy virtue, alone is not sufficient for a leader of men. One must be willing to proffer one's very life to defend the people.
Father, I fail to see the wisdom in a course that can only be the detriment of our people.
So be it. Let us see how far this unseemly concern for the people can take you.
So I just thought that was kind of funny. I know that's what Koei Tecmo does with basically all of their games, like the Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors games. But it's just funny seeing that being applied to Western history, where usually in Western media, these people are portrayed as terrible. So to have Japan over here be like, yeah, nah, he's a good guy, why not? It just is a really weird juxtaposition. I would be interested in seeing a sequel to this game, and it's very possible that that's the reason why they remastered it, to see if there was interest in a sequel, which there probably was not. Honestly though, I think I'd rather see a return of the Kessen series. I don't know why they stopped making that. I don't know if it became not profitable enough, but those games were really enjoyable, and this is basically just the 4th iteration of that game. And I'm sure if they actually did bring it back now, it probably would be incredibly successful. As a matter of fact, I even wonder if they actually had put the Kessen name on this game, if it might have actually sold better. Maybe not in the West, but probably would have done a lot better in Japan. If you've actually played this game, I'd love to hear your opinion down below in the comments as to what you thought of it. Did you really enjoy it? Did you absolutely fucking hate it? As great of a game as I think this is, there are easily some major problems that hold it back massively, and I can definitely understand why it never really took off going back to it. If you don't like repetitive gameplay, you will not like this game. Alright, I hope you enjoyed that video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you have not already. I'll see you guys next week for another video. Goodbye. You know that this is a Koei Tecmo game because in the beginning intro, you have 2 dudes battling, and then all of a sudden they just have this like really deep conversation, and then they just stare off into the sun and fade to black. That is basically every Koei game.
Now be off, to work with ye all.